We are going to continue from our lesson yesterday. C.1 talked about one-step inequalities, and today we're going to talk about two-step inequalities. With two-step inequalities, it's much like solving two-step equations. So for this first couple problems, we're just going to end up reviewing. We're going to subtract 7 from each side. We get 3x equals 45, divide by 3, and x equals 15. The next one, we'd have to add 8 to each side. We get negative 5x equals 20, divide by negative 5, and x equals negative 4. The thing that we want to remember most importantly from yesterday was when solving inequalities, if you multiply or divide by a negative number, you must reverse, or some people say flip, the inequality sign. So to review that, right here we've got a couple examples. We're going to divide by a negative, which means we have to flip our sign. So the sign is going to be less than or equal to, and x is going to equal 4. X is less than or equal to 4. Remember, if it's less than or equal to, it's going to be a filled-in circle. More lines, more work. And all the numbers that are less than 4 go to the left. The next one, we divide by negative 90. We divided by a negative, which means we have to reverse our inequality sign. A positive divided by a negative is a negative, and 72 divided by 9 is going to give us 8, so we get x is greater than negative 8. It's just greater than, so I'm going to put an open circle. The numbers that are greater than go to the right. So now here is when we get into our two-step inequalities. You solve them just like you would do two-step equations, except for then you have to graph your solution. So here we get negative 10x is greater than 30. I'm going to divide by a negative. Think about what we have to do when we divide by a negative. I'm going to flip my sign, and x is less than negative 3. I'm going to have an open circle. The numbers that are less than are going to go to the left. The next one, we're first going to have to multiply both sides by 9, and we're left with x plus 10 is less than 18. We subtract 10, subtract 10. Just be thinking, do we need to reverse our inequality sign? And we do not, because we did not multiply or divide by a negative number. So I'm going to go to 8, put an open circle. X is less than 8, so we would shade to the left. This one I'm going to rewrite just because I don't like the way it looks. The first thing we want to get rid of would be our plus 4. So we get x divided by 8 is greater than or equal to negative 64. And now we're going to have to multiply both sides by 8. So we've got to do negative 64 times 8. And we actually get x is greater than or equal to negative 512. And since that's not on there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make these go by hundreds. So that it will fit on there. Okay, and negative 512, it's going to be about right here. It's going to be a closed circle. And the ones that are greater than are going to go to the right. The next one, we'd first have to add 9 to each side, which is going to give us negative 7x is less than 42. We're dividing by a negative. Be thinking what happens when we divide by a negative. We have to switch our sign. So x is going to be greater than negative 6. I'm going to go to negative 6. It's going to be an open circle. And we're going greater than, so we'll shade to the right. The level 3 type of question, you'll notice that it doesn't have a sign. So what I want you to do is I would like you to turn this into a greater than or equal to sign. And you've got a couple options in solving this. What I like to do is use the method from Chapter B where we clear our fractions. That's one option. The second option would be to find a common denominator and rewrite all of our fractions. So I'm going to go through both ways and you can decide which way would work best. Our common denominator is going to be 8, so I could rewrite this as 4/8 x plus 6/8 is less than or equal to 7/8. I'd have to subtract 6/8 from each side, which is going to give us 4/8 x is less than or equal to 1/8. In order to get rid of this, we'd have to multiply by the reciprocal. So multiply by the reciprocal, and we're left with x is less than or equal to 8/32, which is 1/4. Or we could do it the way of clearing fractions. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to take it, I'm going to multiply everything by 8. So this would reduce to 4. 4 times 1x is going to give me 4x. Multiply this by 8. This would reduce to 2. 2 times 3 is 6. Is less than or equal to. Multiply this by 8. This is going to leave us with 7. So we subtract 6 from each side. We get 4x is less than or equal to 1. Divide by 4. And x is less than or equal to 1/4. So either way we get the exact same answer. Different steps occur in different places, but we'd go to 1/4. We'll have a filled in circle, and it's less than 1/4, so we're going to go to the left. The next one we get into decimals. We still have to follow the same rules that we always have with solving two-step equations. So the first thing I want to get rid of is this 6.361, so I'm going to add that to each side. So we end up with 0.7x is less than, now since they're different signs we're going to end up subtracting. So we have 6.361 minus 5.311, get 0.50. So 1.05, we'll divide by 0.7. So we get x is less than 1.5. I'm going to go to 1.5, put an open circle, and if it's less, we're going to shade to the left. The next one I want to rewrite because I see the subtracting a negative, so this one would be negative 1/3 x plus 2 is greater than or equal to negative 4. I'm going to subtract 2 from each side. I get negative 1/3 x is greater than or equal to negative 6. I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. This cancels off. When I multiply by a negative, what do I have to do? I've got to change my sign, so it's going to be a less than or equal to. X is less than or equal to. And negative 6 times 3 would be negative 18 over negative 1, which is going to give us x is less than or equal to a positive 18. Remember, two negatives gives us a positive. And we do not have 18 on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend this a little bit further. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. You cannot really see it. It's going to be a filled in circle. I'm going to label it 18, and then shade to the left. Make sure that you're switching the sign on the problems that you multiply or divide by a negative number. You are planning to order DVDs over the internet. Each DVD costs $15, so it's $15 per DVD. And there's a one-time shipping and handling fee of $20, so plus our $20. I just happen to use the letter D, which is standing for DVDs. It says if you cannot spend more than $110, how many DVDs can you purchase? So I'm going to go less than or equal to 110 because we can't spend any more than that, and then we'll have to go through the process of solving. So we subtract 20 from each side. We get 15D is less than or equal to 90. Divide by 15. So D is going to be less than or equal to, and it goes 15, 30, 60, 90. So D is less than or equal to 6. So we could buy less than 6 DVDs. Or we could get 6. 3 times a number, 3x, decreased by 9, so decreased by 9 is greater than 12. There's our inequality. Now we're going to solve. Add 9 to each side. 3x is greater than 21. Divide by 3, and x is greater than 7. Here's just practice dividing by negatives. What happens when we divide by a negative? Caution, we've got to reverse our sign. A negative and a negative is a positive. We're going to have full here, and less than goes to the left. Divide by a negative. We've got to reverse our sign. Negative 8, open circle, greater than is going to go to the right. And we don't need to do this page again. So what I'd like you to do now is go ahead and download your homework or print it, whichever you prefer, and have that completed for tomorrow. So this is going to be due Wednesday.